Only 3 minutes of tech. We're getting better. We're getting better. Okay, now I want to be able to see. Yay, I can even see comments. This is so fun. This is super fun. Oops. Welcome, welcome, welcome. This is our open coaching Q&A for the month of May in the Elevated Mother Collective. My name is Robin Whitworth. Someone's asking me about the recording. I don't know if we want to record. I guess I can record it. I don't know that it has to be recorded, but it is streaming. I can see that. We are streaming live, ladies. We are streaming live. So this is May 31st, 2024. My name is Robin Whitworth, and I am CEO, creator of the Elevated Mother Collective and the Elevated Mother programs and all the other things that happen in the Elevated Mother brand. And we are super, super grateful to be having this Q&A today. I am sporting a bruise here. My husband does not beat me, but the dentist does. So just know that there are dentists out there to be aware of. Just kidding. It was a root canal. And for whatever reason, I have decided to heal very slowly. So don't be alarmed. This is a very safe space here that you ladies get to be in. And I hope that as you're on this call, you can get to know me a little bit, and that while I can be very serious, I can also be very silly. And I can be very spiritual, and I can give tough love. I am pretty much all that and a bag of chips. So you're kind of just blessed to be in my space today. I really, really, really feel an immense amount of gratitude. Look at all these faces and names. And we have more people watching online. Of all the things that we could be doing on a Friday morning, here we are. To be edified, to be completely blessed and edified by each other in a group of incredible women. Trying to make my screen bigger here. There we go. So I can see more of you. If you are watching on Facebook, please come into the Zoom. We would love to have you live with us and see your face too. I have with me here my team. And if you're on my team, I hope your video is on. You can wave so everybody on Facebook can see who you are. So we have Christy, Cherie, and Missy, who are the other coaches in the Elevated Mother brand. And these ladies help coach inside the program. They're also, if you've gotten a message, they'll say, I'm your elevation specialist. They are the ones that come in and allow their expertise to just flow through the program. If you don't know if one of them is your elevation specialist, I might be your specialist. I get to have amazing people as well. If you don't know who your specialist is, no matter what time you're watching this or when, drop in the Facebook comments, or if you're on live with us today and you don't know who your specialist is, put it in the chat. Say, I don't know who my specialist is. And your specialist will say, it's me. I'm yours. We're your touch point people. If you have questions, concerns, if you're ready to move on something or ask us for a resource, we are your touch point people. We are so excited again to just have this Q&A. We've been, many of you on this call that I can see, I recognize your name from other calls we've had during the month of May. We've been talking about motherhood in many different aspects, mentally, emotionally, physically, like what is going on in our relationships as a mother? What's going on with our emotions as a mom? How do we navigate these different areas in motherhood and maintain our individuality? The people inside the Elevated Mother Collective care about that question. So we have strived to create classes that mean something, and based on the hundreds, 522, I think I counted, hundreds of comments, I believe that we have been able to strike some valuable chords. And today we're like, let's just have an open Q&A of all the motherhood stuff that's been flown around. And we are all, can we just give ourselves huge high fives and round of applause, guys? It's the last day of May 7th. We all survived. Like, seriously, we're all here in the flesh. So it's been quite the month. And we know that we're kind of feeling like we're on the edge of summer. And we would love to serve you today and answer some questions, coach you if we can. Not that we are perfect mothers, anybody, team? But what we are is that we believe we've been through the elevated mother experience. We have an elevated consciousness, and we've been able to, if you will, in the words of Christ, put off the natural man to become new creatures. And we are deep in that journey and loving it. Each of the members of my team have graduated my programs, have been in my mastermind. They are very, very, very good at the content that we teach, the intention in which we're here to serve. And it's my honor to even have them here. Each of them at one point in their journey said, I see what you're doing here. I feel it in my soul that I get to walk this path with you. And so they're here. And it's beautiful. All of you here are being served by the cream of the crop. And what we all know is that each of you is the cream of the crop as well. That's why we call this group the collective. It's a collective of the most incredible mothers on this planet. So if you're here, give yourself a freaking round of applause that you've chosen a space like this. It's pretty incredible. Yes, Latia, that was the best one. I love that. I love that so much. All right, so Q&A questions. If you're on live, put them in the chat. If you're on Facebook, put them in the comments. And we have people watching that so that we can make sure and do that. Let's see. All right, do we have any questions that were already there, Heather, like on the event page?
Yes, there were a couple. Give me just a second to pull them up.
I thought I could toggle to it, but I think if I toggle on my page as the host, it might like stop the meeting. So I don't dare toggle. That's why I was like, who wrote this down? Who has it pulled up?
I have.
All right.
Oh, Heather has them.
And you guys don't have to wait. If you have questions, just put them in and we'll get to them even if we're still talking.
Sorry, I realized I was muted when I was speaking. The first question, Bonnie asked, how do I get my 3-year-old potty trained? That was the first question. What worked for you guys?
Team, anyone want to take it? Or I got it.
You're the potty training queen, Robin.
Yep. I was going to say you have a document even.
You asked the right person.
I have to add, it's not 100% potty trained. I read it wrong. It's number 2 in the potty. How do I get my 3-year-old to go number 2 in the potty?
Okay, so in true elevated mother fashion, what we get to understand is, Mom, Bonnie, how you feel about potty training is the number one thing you get to work on first. Because your energy and your belief about this child will drive 90% of your results in this area. So what we love to do is when a parent is struggling with a child, and this is what we love about Q&As, friends, is your question. We have some moms sometimes that are like, oh, this question is dumb. Or I don't know if this question fits. They all fit. They all fit. So this question is about potty training, but it's also, I'm frustrated with my child. I'm frustrated with an expectation I had with my child, right? This is actually a relationship at its core. What a beautiful thing to work on with a 2, 3, 4-year-old, however old your kid is. Maybe they're 9 months old. I don't know. I've heard amazing things about potty training. But your first thing you want to think about is my relationship with my child. And really sitting with that and being like, okay, whether we're going number 2 on the potty or going to the park, the principles can be the same. How do I help my child do the thing that's going to help them? And where do I sit with that? Have I judged it? Have I said, if they can't go number 2 in the potty by next week, I will be mad, right? Have I set up little expectations? This works for teenagers. This works for your spouse. Do I think they should have figured this out at this age, this date, this, right? Really sitting with yourself, Bonnie, and being like, have I put up any walls here? Have I put anything up? And if you have, journal through them. What do I think that means then? If she can't go number 2 in the potty, have I failed? Is this a reflection of me as a person? Am I upset about that? Is this child reflecting back to me something that I actually fear? Is it hard for me to follow through on things? It's so interesting how our kids, this is the magic of motherhood. The magic, the absolute magic of motherhood is that our kids become the most incredible teachers about how we can edify and glorify ourselves and our self-expression. So on a tactical note, a tactical physical note, if you've sat with yourself and you're like, you know, I'm actually really neutral about this. I'm really neutral. I really don't care when this child gets it. Maybe you just want to believe you're doing the right thing. Who on the team wants to tell this mom if she's doing the right thing or not? Yes. Every decision, Bonnie, that you make is right. Because in the moment that you made it, with all the information you had, with the emotional state you were in, that was the right thing, or you would have done something different. So however you're going with this potty training adventure is okay, number 1. And if your child is responding to anything in your life, whether you say, let's go to the park, let's go to school, let's have a peanut butter sandwich, if they're responding to you, then you've got checkbox number 1, right? Potty training a lot of times is a reflection of something that we get to have a lot of patience with. And if they've mastered number 1, I mean, all my kids, I don't know, friends, ladies, anyone else on the call, it will happen. You'll win sometime. Like it will. They figure it out. But a lot of times it isn't on our timetable. And a lot of times there is some fear involved. This is another tactical thing I learned with my kids with number 2, that they are actually really unsure about what's happening. With number 1, it's so fast and they have that urge and they can see it really easy. And with number 2, they're like, something's coming out of my butt. What is happening? And they don't know. And then maybe they get splashed and they're like, something's in the toilet that's gonna hurt my butt. I mean, who knows what this child is having a moment with, right? So it may be a point of reflection. Any other moms on here with just a little tactical advice or something that you remember worked really well for Bonnie? And that's anyone, not just a coach. If you're like, dude, when my kid was struggling with number 2, this is what I did and it worked in a few days, like pop on.
I have a quick thought for you, Bonnie. So I was a Montessori toddler teacher in my teaching career for a couple years. So I did a lot of potty training with my kiddos. And one practical thing that across the board was really helpful, both for us as the adults and for our kiddos, was to celebrate the poop no matter what. If it ended up in the diaper or it ended up in the toilet, yay, you win poop. This is fantastic. You know, you make it a good thing instead of us like, oh, you went poop in your pants again. Oh, I have to clean it up, because the kids pick up on your energy. And if it's like, oh, that's great, your body is so amazing. You know, look at what you did. No matter where it ended up, you know, then it becomes, oh, next time, let's try it this way. What do you think? You know, and involve them and make it a fun process, an exciting process with their body, rather than like Robin said, like, oh, I don't know what's happening here. And this is scary. And now mom's mad because it's in my diaper. It's in my underwear. So that was just one thing that I really loved that I took away from that experience as a teacher, that if I could celebrate it rather than, you know, let my child see any frustration about cleaning it up, that always smoothed it and made the experience better for me and the child.
Love.
Christy, that was such fun advice. I have some advice to share. I too had this problem with a child, and it was quite comical because we live in the country and my toddler was literally pooping outside. And I'll tell you, the funny part of this is kids do figure it out. One day he came out of the bathroom and he says, Mom, I pooped on the potty. And I was like, why? You pooped on the potty by yourself? And he was like, yeah, it's cold outside. So just comical relief here. Like, you're not alone. Like, there was one day I literally was looking for his poop in my friend's yard because he pooped in my friend's yard. So look, like this potty training adventure with children is an adventure for everyone. So you are not alone here. Okay. I love what Christy said about celebrating. And I will tell you, I joke about this all the time. Nothing brings out the weird mom like potty training, because I made up so many stupid songs about pooping on the potty, you would not even believe. Like, I can hear it in my head. Pooping on the potty is so much fun. I say hooray when I'm done, right? Like, yeah, okay. Make up dumb songs, but like the energy behind it is so important, and removing the judgment from yourself. Latia's on here. She just went through this with an older child that's potty training. And so she's been in our program. I'm totally spotlighting you, Latia. And she removed the judgment that she had put on my kid's 5, they should be pooping in the potty already. And when we can remove that judgment, like Robin was saying, from ourselves, then that doesn't transfer to the kid. That being said, there are, I love what Christy said about celebrating the poop no matter what. And Robin also helping the child understand what's happening to their body. And I'm also a nurse. So also taking a look at like what resistance the kid has, if it hurts, what his diet is like, maybe even putting him on like a probiotic, giving him apple juice once a day, like things that make going poop easier just in general can be really helpful at this potty training stage, making sure that that's not a scary experience for them. A lot of toddlers are crappy eaters, right? They just, you know, we're like, do they live on air? What do they eat? They eat like half a chicken nugget and 3 grapes. And, you know, so from a physical health standpoint, a lot of toddlers struggle with constipation, irregularity, all of those things. So make this easier on yourself and like, be like, okay, if I give my kid apple juice once a day, that will help, right? If they'll eat raisins, that will help. Like increasing their fiber, paying attention to what that looks like is actually a really important piece to the potty training that some people overlook. So, and then seriously, the poop emoji has made our lives so much easier as moms. Like, go find some poop emoji stickers, a poop emoji hat. Like, my kids once bought like a poop emoji hat. So, and like make it funny and fun and just be like, okay, you went poop, you get to wear the poop hat, run around the house, you know, like make it lighter and easier, and just take that judgment right off of yourself of like, I'm a better mom if my kid poops in the potty all the time. Like, has nothing to do with how good of a mom you are. So hopefully that was helpful, tactical ideas.
I thought it was great. We're going to wait and hear from Bonnie, and she can tell us in the comments later. I don't think she's on live, if that helped. Heather, what's the next one? I saw we had
All
one.
right. Yeah, I see the one in the comments. There's 2
Perfect.
in the post
Perfect.
as well. So the next one is from
Casey Phillips. She says, I'm in a rut with being intimate with my husband. I haven't been feeling that way for a long time now, even before we had children. And now with children, it's almost non-existent, which isn't healthy. Now, since we have kids, it feels like another job and causing a lot of arguments between us. Has anyone else felt this way or currently feels this way? If so, what helped or can help?
All right, let's validate this woman. Anyone ever had moments where the thing was just not the thing? You know? It's all right. Missy, take it away. Missy is our relationship specialist, and I know she has things to say.
Okay. I was actually really excited that someone put this question. Like, that sounds weird, but I actually think this is something that every woman is going to go through. Every mother is going to go through this to some degree at some point in their marriage relationship. So the first thing I want to do is just normalize this feeling. Okay, look, like, we're not robots, ladies. Like, our bodies weave babies. We have hormonal fluctuations every single month. Like, you're basically a walking miracle and a walking roller coaster, okay? Hormonally. So these feelings of anxiousness around intimacy with our spouses and different phases of our lives are very normal. It's very normal. So the first thing that like we do in the Elevated Mother that feels so good is to just normalize this and just be like, hey, can we all just sit in this feeling together and be like, yeah, sometimes this is weird. And you should be, right? You're married to your husband. This should, right? We should ourselves. And we're like, oh, this should be like an easy topic to talk about with our husband. And frankly, most women, it's not. Like, did your parents sit you down and say, this is how you talk to your husband about sex? No one taught you that. Okay. Like, no one did you do that. So, like, can we just like hold a little space for ourselves, being like, yeah, most of us, a lot of women in Christian culture, one, didn't even get any, very little education about their own bodies, sex, how their body worked, how a man's body works. I mean, there's one, a lack of education piece, and just like, oh no, am I stuck? Oh.
I wonder if one of her kids started the microwave.
I thought of that too. I was like, oh, she's out in the country. I think it only lags on her end, though. Missy, you didn't lag on our end, just so you know.
Okay, I'm sorry. My husband was using the microwave.
Someone in her house turned on the microwave.
I'm not kidding. Okay, so we live in the country, and if anyone turns on the microwave, it knocks out my freaking internet. And my husband, bless his soul, he called me. He's like, okay, you have this call. Like, what can I do? He's like down with the kids. He's like, can I use the microwave? I was like, I'm not the only one coaching. It'll be fine. You can use the microwave. Of course, he's using the microwave while I'm actually helping. So I apologize for the microwave incident. Welcome to real life and communicating with a spouse. Okay, so just like normalizing this question is so important. The biggest thing we can do is just normalize it. The second thing that I want to normalize is that as moms, especially once you have lots of kids, especially when you have little kids, we can become very disconnected from our own desires, our own needs, and our own wants. And frankly, our own bodies. Okay? Our bodies, in a very real sense, become other people's, an extension of other people, right? We're nursing a baby, we're growing a baby, we're recovering from having a baby. You've got toddlers on your leg while you're making dinner. I mean, your body is literally giving out so much to your kids. So I also want to just normalize that kind of this feeling of like, she verbalized, you know, it just feels like a chore. It feels like one more thing you're giving out to your husband. You're like, fine, right? Because you're just spent already. So this situation is different in every marriage, in every relationship. So I'm not going to try to oversimplify this, and it's going to require more than what I can give here today, but I'm going to hopefully give you some starting points. So my first biggest piece is that, like we always say in the Elevated Mother, everything starts with you and coming back to yourself and reconnecting with your own body and your own needs in general. Okay. So, like, really sitting with yourself and being like, okay, why is this important to my marriage? Like Casey shared that it was causing conflict. This causes conflict in a lot of marriages, guys. So, this is sex and money are the two big things that people fight about. Okay. So, this isn't just like something we can just like throw out the window and be like, yeah, we'll fix it later. Right? But the first big step to any woman, especially Christian women who have a little bit of disconnect with intimacy anyway, because it's like, don't do it, don't do it. And then you get married and you're like, okay, now you get to be a sexual being, is really coming back to yourself and reconnecting with your own body, reconnecting with your own needs as a woman and as a mother, and then saying, okay, like, what can I do for myself every day to get back into my body? And this might bring up some feelings for you. I'm going to highly recommend that you work with a coach around this. This really helped me to identify why. Why did I have resistance to my husband? Why do I have resistance to my body? And like, I've been working on this for a long time. And Robin yesterday in live coaching in the Elevated Mother Experience asked a question about bodies. She said, why is it that when we think of our higher self, like our best self, we think that that's a skinny person, right? And I was like, oh my gosh. So we have a lot of underlying feelings when it comes to our body, and intimacy with our spouse is the intersection of mind, body, spirit for ourselves, but it's also the most vulnerable part in your relationship. And so really understanding that, like, if there's a conflict here in your marriage, it is worth doing that inner work on yourself. The base level I would recommend is just coming back to yourself and saying, how can I reconnect with myself today? What's 3 small things? We like to talk about making a delights list that like I love that I can do for myself today, because you will always feel like sex is a chore until you're nurturing yourself, until you feel like your needs are being met and you're not just like spending on everybody else. And the underlying word there that I'm going to pull out is resentment, right? Resentment is the biggest killer of every relationship in your life. And when you've got resentment here, like that's what, like, if you can take a minute and when you get in an argument with your husband about this, or when you feel frustrated about it, like feel into your body and be like, where does that show up for me? And if it feels like anger and it feels like frustration, it's resentment. And guess what? That can be released, but it can only be released if you're willing to look at it and say, I'm going to come back to myself, because giving to your husband has to come from a space of being whole yourself. And that's when it feels intimate. That's when it feels good. And I have 6 kids, okay, ranging from 19 to 4. And I understand the complexities at every level, every age of child, of finding time, energy, and just like the emotional capacity to be intimate with your spouse. I understand that that is actually not always an easy thing to do. It's even just finding the time. I mean, there's all the jokes about it. It's like wrapping presents at Christmas because you're like, hurry, lock the door, right? And like for a woman's brain who's overstimulated, trying to be intimate with your husband in this much time or when kids are awake or is almost impossible because intimacy for a woman is all about your brain. It's all about what's in your head. Your brain is actually your biggest sexual organ. Okay. So like the first step for this is coming back home to your body and understanding what thoughts you have about it in your mind, and really getting into your mind and understanding yourself. Put your husband on a shelf and say to your husband, I need to figure out my feelings about this first. And, reach out to us and I can break down for you like how that would look for you. But really like doing small things every day for yourself, getting back into your own body, and really understanding what you need and want around this area of your life is where I would start. That was a long answer, but hopefully that was helpful.
Beautiful. I think it's really, really beautiful. And I wanted to just make a note, if you're on here, like if you're on Zoom, get in the chat and read some of these things that are going on in the chat, the thoughts that other women are sharing. This is beautiful. And if you're on Facebook, get in here, get over here. Okay.
Yeah.
All right.
And if you didn't watch the class I taught about sexuality because you were like, ooh, I don't want to talk about it, go watch it. It's not what you expect. It's really around this concept of loving that part of yourself, wanting that part for yourself. Because I think sometimes we think, oh, I need to want to have sex so my husband will be happy. But this is part of you. Like, you get to want this for yourself. Like, it's a beautiful part of loving yourself, and you get to want it for yourself. So asking yourself, why do I not want this for myself? Put your husband on the shelf. Get back to like understanding what you want, what you feel about it. So if you didn't watch that class, go watch it. Like, put your fear down, put your resistance down, and go watch the dang class. I mean, Christy's on here. She can raise her hand and say that she had a lot of resistance in this area and she did not want to come to class. She told me to my face. She was like, I don't really want to come to that class but that's what's so important, is acknowledging our resistance and coming home to ourselves about it. So if you didn't watch it, go watch the class and then message me and we'll make a plan around it.
Beautiful, beautiful, beautiful. Next question. Is it the one that's in the chat here, Heather?
No, there's one more in the thing. Sorry,
Okay.
my kids, I'm on and off video because my kids are just getting home from their half day last day of school. So, all right, the last question is from Amy. She says, I have a lot of house and yard projects that I would love to get done, and I feel stuck on doing some of them because I feel like I need my husband's permission and input first, or we need thousands of dollars. She has a hard time feeling like she can just take action. She worries that she might throw something of his away that he'll want to keep, or if she brings it up, that then he'll want to keep it and she won't be able to get rid of the clutter that she's trying to get rid of. She says, I know it sounds kind of silly, and I could just put my big girl pants on and communicate and take action. And in this area, it feels harder to do that. She says, growing up, she saw her mom consult her dad on all big projects and decisions. She wants to make decisions on her own and break that cycle. And she wants to respect that her husband and her live in a joint space and that her decisions impact him as well. So she doesn't want to leave him completely out. That is her question.
All right, Shree.
No, I was seriously intrigued. I was like, ooh, I like this question, Amy. Having had you in the elevated mother space, like I actually would love, after you wrote that whole thing out, what came to you? Like I actually want to hear from you. Because you've been through this program, so you have a lot of the skills. So like, let's hear. Because I know you probably like sat and typed it and then were like, some things came to your mind. So I
Yeah.
actually want to hear what you have to say.
Well, I feel like, so I actually, whatever the first question was, somebody said, oh, about the potty training. It's like, what is your belief about your kid potty training? And I was like, what is my belief about my husband and his ability to take action on projects? And then I was doing a little bit, I'm like, okay, can I be neutral about this? So I was kind of like journaling on my own as just listening to the other stuff. And I feel like, so I got like, well, what do I really want for our yard? And then I was like, well, I don't really know, because I don't feel like I can make the right decision. I don't have a landscaping like experience or degree or anything. And our yard is real special. And there's like big trees and roots anyway. And then I realized that I actually have a lot of fear around making the wrong decision about our yard. And I actually feel like I blame myself that we don't have grass anymore. Because like 2 years ago, I got some free sod. We had a patch that needed it. I put it down and I was watering it, and I left the water on, the sprinklers on, while we were at church on a really hot day. And apparently, if you do that, it kills your grass. I'm like, did it like magnify it and boil it? I don't know what happened. The grass died, and my husband, and I just was barely writing, I'm like, I think he blames me too. And he probably doesn't and doesn't even remember. But I remember when I did kill that grass, his reaction to me, like I interpreted it as like well, duh, you should have known that. Like just kind of this condescending, like, oh my gosh, you killed the grass. How did you not know? And so I'm like, oh, dang. I'm gonna have to talk to him about that. And it just feels really vulnerable to do that and just be like, I have all these ideas for our yard. I really want to tear down this shed, but he has a ton of emotional baggage tied to it because he didn't fix it when we first moved in, and now it's really just unusable. I'm like, let's just tear it down and put in a garden. But our house is special and it's complicated, and any project we start is like a domino effect. And anyway, I have all these ideas, but then I'm like, are they the right idea? I don't know. And sometimes I just want to move to a new place with the yard that's exactly the way I want it instead of trying to fix it. So,
And then there might be something else, right? Like
Yeah.
there might also be something else. So coming back around to what you said, can you see how you have judgment for yourself in the situation? You're like, I made this decision and it killed our grass. So then can you see how from your past, how this is coming forward in your current situation?
mhm. Yeah.
So you're like, I don't know if I feel safe to trust myself in moving forward and making these decisions. But I know you well enough to say, Amy, put them down on paper, write it out, like draw it out. You're an artist, like you have artistic skills. You're not an artist. You are a musically artist, but does that make sense? Like write create, do what you do best, which is create. So put something down on paper and then have the conversation. So it's not coming at it like and attacking, like we should like tear down that shed and do something different. Like it comes from a place of like, I want to communicate with you and let's compromise and let's come up with ideas together, and using the empowered wife skills, which Missy probably could touch on here, is coming back around to like, let's work together on this. But I know you well enough to know how creative your brain is, and that I think if you presented what your ideas were, your husband might be like, wow, that's really great. And he might have stuff to add or take away or like, you know what I mean? But it comes back to you. Like, what judgment are you placing on yourself here in that then is being reflected back to you and being like, I don't think he's going to be okay. Like, with what I want to do. And it's like, you're only gonna know if you ask because he can't read your mind, right? So those were my thoughts. I love you, Amy. I think you're wonderfully amazing, talented, all the things. So I would love to hear what everyone else.
Well, Amy, do you feel well served? Do you have a place to go, or is there any other clarification?
I think it's good. I think I'll probably need to cry and release some things and just like feel the feels of all that, yeah, self-judgment and grief. But yeah, I feel like I have a place to go.
Beautiful. Thank you. Okay, so we had one in the chat. Yes, is that the next one, Heather? You're on mute. I don't know if you're saying something.
Yeah, I was. I was trying to pull it up for you. Kristen. Oh my goodness, I had to scroll back up. It was right from the beginning. Okay, she says, my 8-year-old is struggling with depression, anger, and behavioral problems. It is getting very hard for me to handle, and I feel like I am doing more harm than good. How do I help him?
I love this question. And I love a lot of times when we type out our questions, I would love to ask you, and I think Kristen is on here live. If you're willing to come on and talk to us about this, you can. If you're not, it's fine too. But we can see in the words they type sometimes belief statements. It is getting hard for me, right? There's a belief there. My 8-year-old is struggling. There's a belief there. Now, this doesn't mean that you may not have a mountain of evidence. Like, I have all the evidence, right? That's where we want to validate and be like, look, anyone else with that mountain of evidence would have these feelings. Yet we get to point to the beliefs that are formed sometimes from them, because once they become a belief, we act from it. If it's just an idea someone had, a lot of times we can just let the ideas pass. But when it's become a belief, it's a statement we keep saying. So my 8-year-old is struggling. It's hard for me. I'm doing more harm than good. How? And when someone asks how, it's like, there must be some underlying idea that you don't think you can on your own, right? And that's valid. But we want to lay those out because sometimes in the very beginning of a journey, especially when you're this close to it, and you're just like, I feel like I have pulled all the strings. I feel like I have put everything into this that I can. Usually that means you're this close to it, and it's really time for a coach or a therapist, depending on what you believe you need. Because when we feel like we're out of all of our resources, we are so close, we're now in what we call a blind spot, where we really don't see past the end of our nose on certain issues. So ladies, anyone on here, if there are areas in your life where you feel like there's no way I can do anything, you're this close and it's time to get an outside perspective that will help you. I can't tell you, I have 17 journals of journeys and different coaches, mentors, counselors, and that has been a constant thing I have learned. If I ever feel that I'm completely out of resources and things, it's time to get an outside perspective. So Kristen, round of applause, right? From everyone. You chose to come to this call, and that was exactly the right thing for you to do. Good job. We're proud of you, and we're excited, and we're so she was, oh my God, this is so good. All right, team, anybody want to share some stuff on this? I just wanted to point out the belief system, strategically for anyone else. If you feel this way, writing it out, take a highlighter and highlight your own statements. This helps you start to go, what are my belief systems here? And then you can work back. Christy.
I wanted to add a couple, just a thought that I had. It reminded me of our first question, our potty training question, and what Robin said about it really comes back to, how do you feel about it? How do you feel about yourself? Are you judging yourself as a mom because your child is experiencing something different? I wouldn't even say that I wouldn't say struggling, because she said that's a belief. But if my child is having this experience, are you judging what it looks like for the child, for you, for your family? What is it? You've attached a meaning to it. What does it mean to me? And so I think that's a really good place to start, about what we already talked about, using that same skill and reflecting back. What judgments have I made about this, that it should or shouldn't look like this, that I should or shouldn't be doing things as a mom? And I think that's a really good place to start bringing it back to yourself.
I'd like to share. Kristen, I just want you to know that I can relate and empathize to this on a very deep level. My oldest child struggled immensely from a young age with anxiety and depression as well. And I can relate to this feeling of I don't know what else to do, and feeling like everything you try is not working or causing harm. And the first thing we want to feel as moms is we're not causing harm, right? And so I want you to know I've sat exactly where you're sitting. And if for those who have been in the Elevated Mother Experience program, I've talked a lot about my oldest and my journey parenting her, and how it was actually in a lot of instances, a reflection of my own struggles, that when I saw her struggling with what I struggled with, it brought up a lot of judgment for myself, of my own fear, because I had been through something similar. My mother had been through something similar. And so a lot of times in the wisdom of life and God's giving us our children, our deepest wounds will come out in our children. And so understanding that pattern gave me a lot to grow on when I felt desperate, right? Once I learned from coaching, from other spaces, that the reason I had such deep feelings about it was because I had been in the shoes of my child and I carried a lot of subconscious guilt there of like, oh, I gave this to my kid, right? And a lot of fear as well. Like, I don't want my child to go through what I went through. And so really identifying that for myself, Kristen, I followed you on social media long enough that I know that you too have struggled with depression. I loved your post, by the way, on Mental Health Day. So for those of you who don't follow Kristen, she's really funny and really amazing to follow. But she shared some of her own depression journey. Kristen, I hope it's okay that I just give the brief synopsis here for the group. But so Kristen, I wish we were in person so I could hug you and help you see that like this, you're feeling so deeply for your child because you're also grieving for yourself, right? The experience he's going through is bringing up your own experience. And I have been through that too. And I just want to testify to you that the work I have done on myself has allowed me to heal the belief that I was the mom for the job for my kid. Because when my kid struggled to an extreme level, even worse than I struggled as a child, I questioned myself. I was angry at God. I was like, why did you give this to me? I can't do it because I struggled with that too. So in my mind, I really judged myself. So the biggest piece of this for you is doing that work of healing on yourself, of healing this need to feel like you're in control, you're going to fix your kid because you're not God. And I had to learn that too. And I got to learn to give myself compassion. And I'll tell you now that my daughter she's been away at college for a year and is thriving by her own choices. And that journey was not an easy one to walk with her or a pretty one. And there were so many days where I blew up at her or it didn't look pretty. And I was like, I'm out. I was so close to it. And the best thing I did, and if you've been with me, all the EMX people are like, yeah, we know this story of Missy's, was actually doing the work on myself. And I got in here a couple of weeks ago and shared my own win around this, where I sat with my daughter and she was sharing some hard things with me. And my biggest win out of that was I didn't take it on myself. And I was like, I've done it. I figured out how to do this, of being able to sit in compassion with your child and hear them and love them and not judge them and not judge yourself. So like, I just want you to know, like, there's so much love coming at you and compassion right now from this group of women, because we have all been through this, and every mom has been through this to some degree. And it is so painful to watch your child suffering through something. But I'm going to say what I say in our program all the time. You are the mom for the job. Your child chose you as a mother, and God put you in your child's life for the exact reason. But it's not just to heal your child, it's to heal yourself as well. It's to claim that love, that adoration from God for yourself. And as you claim that fully, you will start to feel differently when you're sitting with your son. And when you can show up in full love and acceptance and non-judgment for yourself, your son will start to heal, and he'll be on his own journey. And who knows what that's going to look like. But you'll know when you do the work for yourself that you're the mom for the job. So, does anybody have anything else to add?
I was going to say, similar to what Christy said in the chat, inside the Elevated Mother program, one of the first videos you watch is called Foundations. And it helps you see the different brain steps that the human body biologically goes through, right? If you're a Christian, you believe your soul has kind of maybe lived a long time before and will progress after, but the body is it's its own experience. And we're learning more and more that sometimes there could be a belief that your soul comes here and it goes through this physical experience to heal and learn specific things. And those are some of the things you'll go through in this life. But in that Foundations video, we learn about the biological stages of the brain and where we're at. And so when I was a child, this some of my inner child work, I had big emotions. I had big things to say. My mother would always say, Robin, you're up here, bring it down here. And my dad would joke about me having a set of lungs and hopefully maybe I'd be a Broadway singer someday because I was out. And so I learned that it wasn't okay to be loud. It wasn't okay to talk and share, right? I've had to relearn that there might be people that choose my space and that's awesome. But at that age, between 7 and 9, is their first awareness of their like identity as a person, right? But we see that in the way they play when they're 4 and 5. It shifts in that stage. And I've been able to sit down with my children when they're about first, second grade, and they start, any mom here will know this, they kind of start crying more. They'll have moments where they just like sink to the floor maybe, or they hide their face, or they do these little emotional behaviors. And so just be aware that it may be really useful to sit with these children, all the moms on here, and tell your kid, hey, this is something that I've done that I have seen the relief reflected to me in my child's eyes, to say, hey, I know you've been crying a lot, and I know that you've thrown a lot of fits, and tell me about that. And every time my kid's like, I feel stupid when I do it, or they say, I know I shouldn't cry like that. And I'm like, oh man, they're getting that message from other moms, people at the store, they see it at school. Oh, you gotta calm down. We can't do that, right? They're being told all the time to not feel their feelings. So as their mom, to sit in a nice, quiet, snuggled up on my bed space and be like, I know you're having these big feelings, and I know it's hard for you, but I want you to know as your mom, this is actually a sign that you're healthy. This is a sign that your body and your brain are actually developing well, and that you're going to be an incredible human. This is the start of it. This is your body shifting and knowing your identity, and you're seeing how other people see you. So I want you to know that I'm a safe space. We can talk about these feelings, and you can cry, and I will give you a pillow to scream into, and I will give you the Kleenex box to rip up. I had a child rip up a Kleenex box on my bed because he was like, Mom, I just want to destroy something. And I grabbed the Kleenex box and I said, do it. And he just ripped it up. And then he cried. And it was a tender moment for me to witness his freedom in my safe space, because it wasn't something I had as a child, right? This is the inner child work. And this is me letting it freely flow on this call, right? And so I just want you to know that that age is actually like totally a thing. It's totally a thing. And you just maybe as a mom were not given that space. And this is a beautiful opportunity to break that pattern, to be that space for your kid and let them know how precious they are and that they're healthy for having these big emotions, right? I always tell them, I said, I'd be more concerned if you never had this. I'd be more concerned if you were hiding away in a blanket in a corner and didn't say anything for days. And so that's something I wanted to share. And I'm grateful for those of you that sat in this space with me to work through that experience with me, because it's been a beautiful shift for me as a mom. Sierra, did you have a question? You gonna type it in the chat? I'll just go ahead and read it, Heather. She says, I fight with myself daily. I have a hard time telling if I'm doing the right thing or not. I basically cut my father-in-law off as I was feeling used. Let's tackle that first one in our last few minutes, ladies. I think it's great to cut people off if they've been used, but I mean, that's a journey. That's a whole journey in and of itself. I feel like I have torn my family apart. Ooh, this is great. I'm glad you typed it. Take a screenshot, highlight those beliefs, right? So ladies, anybody want to take this one? I feel like I fight with myself daily. I have a hard time telling if I'm doing the right thing or not.
Thought for you, Sierra. Something that we talk about a lot in the Elevated Mother program is, like we've said, coming back to ourselves, trusting ourselves, being in alignment with ourselves. And part of that starts with realizing where you've put your energy outside of yourself. You said, okay, well, who is saying what is right or wrong? The right thing, the wrong thing. Is that coming from an outside source for you, Sierra? Is that your family telling you? Is that this expectation that you have as your role in your family? So to really take a look at, say, like, who says the right or wrong thing? And if it's not you, then it's time to come back to you and say, how does this feel to me? How does this feel in my heart, in my soul, in my body? And if it's not feeling good, then it's time to look at, how can I bring myself back to what does feel good? What do I want? What do I need as a person? So that's a skill that we really work through and support the women in this program in coming back and finding out how to be in alignment with themselves and with God.
That was beautiful. Beautiful, beautiful. I was going to say that, Sheree. Go back and listen to this call with that question in mind. And anyone else that watches this in the recording, you're like, oh, I wish I would have asked my question. Sit with your question. Really sit with it with the skills we've talked about. Like, see if there's any belief statements you can see in your question already. Then watch the call again with your question in mind of the answers. And be like, does this touch my question? Because I guarantee in some place it will, right? And then as far as this, I feel like I tore my family apart. That's a story. Sierra, that's a story. And I would love for you to actually sit with that and be like, where does that even come from? Is that even true on every level? Would everyone involved believe that it was me? Everyone is going to write in their journal, Sierra tore our family apart. Sometimes we go real far in our own brains when we're being very triggered. And a lot of times it's not true. And a lot of times, as Christy put in the chat, I like to then ask myself, is it helpful for me to believe this? Like, is it helpful for me to believe this? Is this the most helpful thing that I could be believing about myself and my family? And if it's not, if I can identify immediately, you know what, that isn't very helpful. What is a more helpful thought? Sit in prayer. Sometimes I have to kind of get in alignment with myself and be like, Robin, what is a more helpful thought here? What is the more helpful thought? And it sounds like maybe in this, it's like, no, I was setting healthy boundaries for myself. That's actually maybe what was happening here. And sometimes if we've been a people pleaser, setting boundaries can feel mean. And so then we're triggered in like, am I mean? Do I hate that I'm mean? Oh no. Then we kind of go down this spiral of finding evidence of how we're mean. So just be aware, right? That is probably some of the things going on in this space. Is that helpful, Sierra? And hopefully for others. When we have stories that aren't super fun and we're like, oh no, I like to ask myself, is it helpful to believe this? And if not, what's a more helpful thought? And we get more and more aligned by asking ourselves that, because at our very base, ladies, we are loving beings. We aren't beings that tear people apart. We aren't beings that don't care for our children. We are loving, light-filled beings at our core. So when we ask ourselves better questions, we can get to that place where we find what would love say here? What is love telling me about this? And that's where we'll find our most helpful answers. Beautiful call. I love you all. Oh, yes, Christy. And those kinds of actions says I'm choosing myself. Yes.
Can I add one more thing for Sierra?
Yeah.
Sierra, once again, like we've validated a lot, like this feeling of being in constant war with yourself, right? You're constantly questioning yourself is very normal. It's very normal for a lot of moms. So I just want you to know that we get it. And that's why we're actually here as coaches, because we have all been in the mind battle of our own minds, of learning to trust ourselves. And so what I feel so much from your question is a journey that I've gone through myself, is learning to trust yourself, that the choices you make are the right choices. And part of that is really coming, like we've talked about a lot on this call, is coming back home to yourself and allowing yourself, like Robin was saying, to identify, am I a loving person? Like, what are my core values? And then when you know you're acting out of your core values, then when you have that mind battle, you can say, oh, I'm a woman of love and integrity. I'm a woman who protects my family and my boundaries. But really getting clarity around what you believe helps settle that mind battle. And then helps you have confidence. Like Robin was saying, I too am a recovering people pleaser to a really high level of degree. And when I realized that about myself, coming out of that and choosing myself and learning to trust myself amidst that mind battle really was a journey for me. And like Robin said, boundaries felt very mean. It felt very uncomfortable. I'll tell you, when I came into Robin's space, I was like, I couldn't even say no to my own kids. I was like, why can't I say no? And so I understand that. So if you see that pattern showing up for you, just know that like this is a journey you get to take back to yourself. And that's why we've created this space, because you're not alone. And every woman at some point has to deal with their mind battle. So I just want you to know that you're not alone in that space in your mind. But, we're coming to the end of this call. I hope everybody was well served here and loved and held, and that you understand that you're not alone in motherhood, and that this is what this space is for. So if you're here, you're watching the replay and you're like, man, I'm tired of dealing with my mind battle alone. I'm ready to shift. I'm ready. Like, we have created the Elevated Mother Experience for you. And the reason there's 4 coaches on here is because Robin went through this herself, and we basically all begged her to help her help other moms, because I was you, Sierra. I've been Kristen. I've been the Screaming Mom potty training. And this program gave me back and gave me the confidence that I was the mom for the job and that I could trust myself. And, I actually love that Amy got on here today, Amy, because Amy has gone through our Elevated Mother Experience. So if you watched Amy kind of coach herself, which was really cool, Amy, so thank you for that. You'll see that once you come into the Elevated Mother Experience, it's a 6-month program where you get this level of holding 3 times a week. Like, this is what we do 3 days a week. And it is this raw and vulnerable, like, every time. So what is holding you back from being like, now's the time. I'm ready to be held. I'm tired of battling my mind by myself. And when you can be held for 6 months in a space like this and genuinely loved we took on some vulnerable questions today, guys. We did sexuality. We did kids. It was deep today. And I know everybody felt that. There is nothing that we shy away from in the Elevated Mother Experience. And this is what the group calls look like. Okay. And you get personal one-on-one calls with any of us 4 coaches. So the level of work that you can do on yourself in 6 months will radically change your life. And I can say that because it radically changed mine. And Christy could say that. And Shuri could say that. And Robin's the original Elevated Mother. And that's why we are here. So please comment in the comments, in the replay, I'm ready if you're ready. And we will reach out to you and break down what this looks like for you. Because every mom deserves this. I really believe that. And I think a lot of times I I had to drop my pride and be like, wow, I need a coach and I need it now. Like 7 years ago, probably. But so please put in the chat, like, I'm ready, and we will reach out to you, one of us coaches, and allow yourself to be loved. I love the word beloved, like Christ calls us his beloved. And I broke just the other day, I was having a feisty conversation with God, and Jesus is like, be loved, Missy. Break it apart. It says, be loved. And I was like, crap. I wasn't allowing myself to be loved. So you are beloved, or as we like to say, you are extravagantly loved. And that's what this program is about, is getting you to the point where you know that to your head to your toes through yourself, and unwinding what Sierra so beautifully put, the war of the mind, right? All right. I just went on a spiel there. I'm going to let Robin close this out.
I love it. I love it so much. And I hope that you ladies can see that the level of true collaboration of the team members of this team is something you likely have not seen anywhere else. The level of community, truly community of people coming together in one purpose, in love, is something that I have never seen in another program ever. It's something that was inspired, that we come together as a team meeting sometimes and we're like, what are we even doing? I don't know, because it's never existed. We're creating something completely new into the universe. How cool is that? We're birthing a whole new thing, and that comes with that is all sorts of things the team knows. Sometimes we're up and down and all around. But I believe that as we are creating something new, our clients are seeing in real time the scripture that Jesus says that when you come home to yourself, which, by the way, if you go and study the Hebrew character for repent, it means a coming home. Ladies, repentance is not, oh, I did something wrong, I need to do it right. It's, I moved away from who I am as a spiritual being of light and love and did something out of that, something out of alignment. And repentance is when we come back. And it's a coming home. And I love that. And in this program, you'll see as we come home, we become, as Christ said, a new creature. We become different. And we're reinventing and removing and going all the time. And so you'll get to see all of that in real time. So you're welcome, Megan. You're welcome, Megan. Beautiful morning. Enjoy your weekend. Think on this call, watch it again. I like to really encourage you as much as you can feel my energy. See, it's coming through this screen. Feel it, accept it, open your heart. Watch this call like 3 times. And I wouldn't sit and watch it the same way you watched it this time. Go listen to it at a park. Listen to it while you're driving. Listen to it in a bath. Listen to it in different places, because your energetics will shift and you will start to learn how you are the most receptive. I found it valuable. And when a coach first told me that, to listen to all her calls 3 times, I was like, you're already taking my time. You want me to do this 3 times? But I learned that she knew something I didn't know. So I now go and I watch every call 3 times in 3 different energetic spaces. And I have learned my most receptive states, where I can really take something in and it becomes more and more valuable. I'm like, wow, she was right. So I encourage you to do that, to watch these calls. If you've watched classes in our Elevated Mother Collective before, you can watch them again. If you're an EMX client, go watch some of your favorite calls again in a different space. So have an amazing weekend. Can't wait to hear all your comments, everything. We love you all. See you later.